So I'm honored today to speak with the Honorable Christian Becerra, Judge Becerra of the 434th District Court of Fort Bend County. Known Christian for a while, knew of each other, and so tell me about your background a little bit.
All right, so, well, we know each other because you went to Lamar,
Yep.
I went to Terry,
Yes.
and we were in high school about the same time, and that's really the story. The story goes back to then as to why I'm here today. Has everything to do with a day in my senior year of high school. I wasn't the best student. I love going to talk to kids about that because they always say, you know, you're a judge, you went to UT, you've got to be at the top of your class, and I wasn't. I was more interested in chasing girls and having a good time in school than I was worrying about grades. My brother was the one in National Honor Society, but I did very well on my ACT and SAT scores, and I got accepted to UT Austin. Life-changing in two ways. So number one, I got accepted to UT Austin, but the next day at school, my counselor called me to her office. And I expected her to say, congratulations, where did that come from? And instead, I get there, and I'll never forget this. And she had a frown on her face. It wasn't welcoming. And she said, don't even sit down. This won't take long. I saw you got accepted to UT Austin. Don't even think about going there. You'll never make it. I remember turning around and going, what just happened? What happened? What was that? Wow. And I was blessed with a huge family. Both of my parents come from families of 9. Mom graduated Dulles. Dad graduated from Lamar. I mean, we're entrenched in Fort Bend County, and they're still all here. I have tons of relatives. They had always kind of, catered to me when I was growing up, right? There's always one of those ones that's the favorite of all the aunts and uncles. Well, so I always kind of felt like I could do whatever I wanted, and to have somebody tell me that I couldn't do something for the first time ever in my life, Mom always said, whatever you want to do, even though I wasn't making the grades and they fussed at me a lot, it kind of rocked me a little bit. And I ended up going to Texas State. A lot of people don't even know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Went for 2 years. I followed a girlfriend to Texas State. It was Southwest.
It was
I forget what it was called back then.
Southwest or something
Southwest
like
in San Marcos. Great school. Not saying anything bad about the school, but when I got there, I knew I was supposed to be in Austin.
Okay.
And at that time, UT goes from 60 to 50,000 students. The requirements started to get harder, and I had to transfer, so I had to make I forget what it was, 3.5 or whatever. But I did what I needed to do to transfer to UT. Graduated from UT. And that's where the story really gets good because I go to law school. I get a job at the DA's office here in Fort Bend County is where I started. Home community. I'm a young prosecutor in Fort Bend. And Harry Wright Sr. calls me, my principal from Terry High School. And Mr. Wright.
Oh, right? Yes.
So he calls me and he's like, "Boy, I'm so proud of you. UT Law School, and now you're a prosecutor. We want you to come talk to the seniors." I remember, and he goes, "We want you to tell them everything you did to get where you're at right now." So I remember going home and I wrote this ridiculously long speech because I wanted to include everything that I'd done. And I get there and I get on the podium to start talking, and I look down, and on the front row is my counselor. So I tell people this all the time. I even compare it, the birth of my children to this day in my life. Because I threw out the speech, and I go talk to schools all the time. I talk to students all the time, and I tell them what I told those students that day. And I said, let me tell you what happened to me when I went to school here. And the message is always the same now. It's don't ever let somebody tell you can't do something. And number 2, that anything is possible, all is possible, but you just have to put in the work to get there.
Right.
That monster that's on my shoulder is still there, and I love it. I feed it every day. And I love when people tell me that I can't do something because it just drives me to want to do it even more.
Don't underestimate you, in other words.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So your aunt, Lupe Uresti, was the first Hispanic female mayor of Rosenberg. Am I right?
Yes. So Lupe is actually my dad's first cousin, but in our culture, if you're older, your auntie, your uncle, because we're all so close.
Right.
And there's a street in Rosenberg where it's Becerra's Grocery. It's my great-grandfather's grocery store. And next door is my great-grandfather's house, then my grandfather's house, and this is all in one little block. Across the street is great uncle, great aunt, great uncle. So that area on 2nd Street in Rosenberg is home for our family, and most of my relatives are still here in the Rosenberg-Richmond area from the Becerra Arredondo side. And then again, my mom's family is from Dulles, and she comes from a family of 9, so a very large. Everywhere in Fort Bend County.
Everywhere, that's cool.
Which makes this job even mean more to me, because the main goal is to give back to my community here in Fort Bend County, the community that raised me, my parents, and my girls as well. So
talk to me about that, because you are, if you don't follow him on social media, he is everywhere. Has so many interests and is passionate about so many different things. What drives you, and why so many different organizations?
I never wanted to be a judge in my life. Will Colgan, you know Will.
Yes.
Went to high school with you. We were best friends since we were 15. We went to UT together. I took 2 years off. I had a 2-year gap where I'd try to find myself as a young man, and then went to law school. But after I left the DA's office, I partnered with Will. We worked in the community. We built our practice for 20 years. I think I was in about altogether maybe 20 counties in the state of Texas.
Wow.
I'd go around trying cases. So we're comfortable. I have 3 daughters, Sierra 29 now, Elizabeth 27, Gabriella 26. They're all college graduates. And right about then, when Gabriella was about to graduate from school, the baby, I went into a courtroom in Harris County. Harris County is different than Fort Bend. Harris County has specific jurisdiction courts. We have general jurisdiction. I do civil and criminal. There, it's civil, or you do criminal, or you do family.
Got it.
Well, I was in a criminal courtroom, and the judge came out 3.5 hours late. She was brand new to the bench, and said something that didn't make any sense to any of the criminal attorneys that were in the room. And I was very bothered by that, but I went back and did my due diligence on the judge and found that she had never practiced criminal law. So, and again, she's doing capital murder cases, district court, only criminal stuff. So why would you run to be a judge in a criminal district court if you've never practiced criminal law?
Wow.
It was shocking to me. And my family's always been involved in politics, and they always pushed me to carry on that legacy. The nastiness, the bad part of it, it always turned me off. To be honest. And
the politics of the politics.
I was very comfortable. We were making a good living. My wife's a stay-at-home mom. She still takes care of the biggest kid in the house. God bless Lacey Becerra. And I just jumped. I came and tried to talk to Judge Shoemake, who was the judge here, and I told him that I was going to run for judge. At the time, I think he was planning on retiring. He ended up running. But we won. In a little-known story, I go to dinner with my wife the night that we won. And this is, I don't know how this reflects on me, really, to be honest, because it's not very smart. But she asked, halfway through, we're having a drink after dinner, and she says, well, how much do judges make anyway? And I had no idea. Zero idea how much judges, because
that says something, because that was not important to him. Seriously.
It was the mission. But when I Google it, and I was looking at my phone, and my brain's thinking, she's gonna leave me.
Yeah,
she's gonna
taking a pay cut.
half of my salary. I showed her. She was pretty upset. She just couldn't believe that we didn't consider that. But it was about the mission.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think now when she sees how excited I am every day to come in and change the way that the justice system works in Fort Bend County. An attorney asked me, why are you doing this? What are you going to do when you get on the bench? And I made the comment that I'm going to burn it down and we're going to rebuild it brick by brick. And I have a few here with me that have the same ideals that we have, and we're going to change the way the justice system works here in Fort Bend County, to benefit all of the citizens of Fort Bend. So it's been a mission, and my staff likes to say that we get to a finish line, and then I keep moving that finish line over and over and over. But there was just so much to do.
Yeah.
Are you qualified to do the job that you get elected to do?
Right.
And if you're not ready to start that job day one and understand what that job entails and what your job is, and you're ready to do it, then you shouldn't run for office. And unfortunately, politics is filled, local, state, and nationally, with people that run for office for the wrong reasons, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I feel the same way. So we have talked personally. This is not our first discussion, if you can't tell. So talk to me a little bit. We both agree that Republican, Democrat, that's a dividing factor. I'll
take it a step further. So I announced a month ago or a month and a half ago that I was going to run for county judge. It wasn't an easy decision for me to do. I finished my first term, and even before I finished, I was fielding phone calls from people in the community, from Republican voters, Democratic voters that wanted to see a change at the county level. And frankly, I would tell them, listen, man, I just won my second election, and I like what I'm doing, because we're bringing a lot of change to the way that we do things here. We got rid of our backlog in 2 years. Judge Brame and I, Judge R.G. Brame is my associate judge, and together we went from 1 docket a week to 5 dockets a week, and in 2 years we got rid of all that backlog that you read about in the papers in Harris County, and it was just going to work 5 days a week.
Right.
So I'm very comfortable, and I didn't even consider it. And then she actually started the ball by she went back to the government code, which describes each position in the state of Texas. We found that I could remain on the bench while I ran for county judge, and that changed things, because that meant my staff is safe, in place.
Right.
And then I really started to consider it, and that happened in early December. And there's been some issues with our current county judge that we don't have to get into. I think everybody knows about all the issues that are currently, following him. I had an attorney come see me, and it was a big contributor to my campaign, and very happy with the way that we run our courtroom, and likes me on the bench. So I brought him in and I said, I'm thinking about running for county judge. And he wasn't happy at all, because he says, man, you're just getting your system. I love what you do on the bench. We need you here. But as I was talking to his wife and he's pacing back and forth, he stopped and he said something that stuck with me. And he said, you have to figure out where you can do the most good, and that's what you have to do. And I think right at that moment, I realized
that was the decision. It was easy. Yeah. Right, that was easy.
I met with my dad, because my dad's a smarter man than I am, and he told me some of the things to be aware of, or to be ready for. But my mind was made up then, and that was probably at the end of January. And the way that I look at it, the most appealing part of it, to answer your question, I know I went off on a tangent. Republican, Democrat, right? Our county is a battleground county. It's pretty much right down the middle.
Agreed.
And then we have old Fort Bend County and new Fort Bend County. We're the most, I'm going to claim it, we're the most diverse county in the United States. I think officially we're number 2 behind Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
Or the Bronx, New York, excuse me.
But I love that about our county too.
Right? And it wasn't like that when we grew up.
No, it wasn't. But I mean, embrace it. It's kind of neat.
It's here, and it's not going to change. And I studied culture and religion at UT, and I enjoy getting out to the different communities in Fort Bend County. But the main thing that I realized as I continued to reach out to these communities is that our similarities far outweigh our differences. We're so similar, and the idea and the idea that people use those differences to promote themselves for self-gain, I can't stand by and watch that happen.
Or they promote for division.
Yes.
I mean, it's also promoted to divide each other.
Dividing the community sometimes means that they are helping themselves.
Right.
It's self-interest. And again, this is home for
Right.
me, and it's home for my kids were raised here. And Lacey and I still, our parents are still with us, thank God.
Right.
We're invested in this community, as you are as well,
Right.
and it means everything to me. And there needs to be a bridge between old and new, and red and blue, and brown and black and white, and all those things need to come together. And that really fits along my philosophy all along. I had a young campaign manager in the very beginning of my campaign that I met at a club meeting. She came up with "Better Together" for my hashtag. That's you.
Right.
That's what you're promoting. That's what your goal is, and it fits. And it fits like I can't tell you. So when I see somebody using hate to drive a wedge in our community, well. I'm a fighter too, and I'm a trial attorney. I like conflict. I like it. My pulse goes down. I enjoy it, and I want to stop that because we're at a very critical time. And if you think about it, our country is torn apart. We're on polar opposites
spectrum. Yeah.
But in Fort Bend, if we're the most diverse county in the United States, and we can find a way to look past it, because once you get elected, I'm not a Democratic judge. I'm the district court judge of the 434 District Court. For all people. We can find a way to come together and to maximize our potential in Fort Bend County. Don't we become the model for
the beacon for people to look at?
The rest of the state, the rest of the country.
And so you kind of answered, I think, one of the questions that I have. So you don't ever see it being an issue, the different cultures and us being divided, because your goal is we all are the same. We all want the same things inherently, correct?
Correct.
And so why is there all this divisiveness and strife between cultures? Is that what you're...
Yes, I think it's a real issue, and I think COVID played a big part in that. I think we got very comfortable on the keypad, and there's a lot of people that want to gaslight, and they try to gaslight me. I quietly enjoy it, to be honest with you, but I don't respond, even though I really want to. It's got to be a positive message.
Right, yeah.
And again, born and raised in Fort Bend County means everything to me. And I've met so many people in the new Fort Bend County, and I still have so many friends from old Fort Bend County that if anybody, I hope, can bring us together, I hope that person's me. And it drives me to want to be a better person personally, a better father, a better husband, and a better citizen, because my dad always reinforces that issue that, and I'm a Hispanic, I'm Mexican American. I'm the only Latino elected official in Fort Bend County. And my dad always, every time we talk, he says, you've got the, the whole community on your shoulders. But I enjoy it. I like it. It drives me to be better.
Yeah, that's great. Talk to me a little bit more about this mental health thing. This is one of your big kind of platforms, correct?
Yes.
Suicide, mental health.
No, it all ties together.
Yeah.
Well, so as a defense attorney, I used the drug court a lot. I had a lot of clients that were struggling with drug issues. I've lived a full life. I've seen a lot of things in my past, and I'm very open about that. I answer questions about who I was before and some of the things that I've done, but I think I can relate to some of the people that come into my courtroom. But what I found out was there's the chicken egg question, right? What came first, the chicken or the egg? And I have a lot of people in my mental health court that struggle with addiction.
Okay.
And come to find out, we had a gentleman that was older than 35 that we now have a psychiatrist at the jail. And he'd come in, and he'd been to the penitentiary twice already, which makes him a habitual felon. And his family had abandoned him or pushed him out because he had stolen. He was addicted to drugs.
Right. And
he got diagnosed with severe bipolar disorder and started getting medication at the jail. Life-changing. And come to find out, again, first time he'd been diagnosed, so this whole time prior, he was self-medicating. Right? So now that he has the medication that stabilizes him, we brought the family back in, and this is what my court does. We bring them into the courtroom. We have a social worker in here. We have a criminal defense attorney, the state, the probation officer. Everybody's working for the same purpose, and that's to give that individual the tools that they need to be a positive member of society. Now, the pushback I get from some of the members of community are, well, if he did a crime, he needs to pay that, go do the time. But what they don't understand is that some of these crimes, they'll be back on the streets in 2 years,
right, after
they've served 2 years in the penitentiary, which makes them even worse individual. And then we have to deal with them in 2 years. So this is long-term thinking. How do we stop that cycle? And here's the real key, how do we prevent the action from ever happening in the first place? So what I see in my courtroom now has driven me to work out in the community to try to stop the action, stop that 17-year-old from picking up the weapon, stop that person that has an undiagnosed mental illness from doing something when they're having a psychotic episode, or what do we do to get back in the community to educate our parents, our faith leaders, our teachers, our counselors, how to spot things and deal with it before the action happens and they end up in my courtroom.
And I think growing up, that was like, just rub some dirt on it, move on. We didn't address that. And so I think probably as we move forward and get more younger people, that will be more common approach. But right now we're kind of at a pivotal point to try to get people to understand that if you can start ahead of time and get going ahead of time before it even really starts, then we're better off.
Every parent wants their child to be a lawyer, a doctor, to get into UT or A&M or Ivy League school. And you think about all the pressure that the kids have right now. It's like, they're trying to get into the best school so they can get the best job, and their parents are pushing them. And it's so competitive. Now I think it's the top 6% to get into UT.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's impossible.
You can't get it.
So that pressure, and then they're having training for active shooters on campus and social media and everything else that we didn't have to deal with. But you're right, we ignored it. And it
was there.
Yeah, it was there. You said something about the Suicide Task Force. We meet every third Wednesday of the month at the Office of Emergency Management here in Fort Bend County at 6 p.m. We have a task force that was created because I don't believe that the light's being shined on the fact that we're losing 12 or younger children in Fort Bend County to suicide, and it just gets pushed under the rug as fast as possible.
Nobody wants to talk about it.
Because nobody wants to talk about it. And I don't want to see another family come into our task force meeting that's lost a 12-year-old daughter.
Absolutely.
Ever again. I can't even imagine.
I can't either.
Yeah. So we've got to do better. Too many of us, again, keyboard warriors, want to say, oh, this is wrong and this is wrong. Well, how do we fix it? Right? And I want to be a change agent. I want to help people find answers to real problems that we're struggling with here in Fort Bend County. And that's why I need you and everybody out there to come together.
I love what you say is like, we've got to do better. I hear you say that a lot on a lot of different things, and we've got to do better. Just show up, show some interest. I think we're kind of in a culture where we get so consumed with ourselves, and you are clearly, you exemplify what we all should be. That's for sure.
I don't know about that. That's too far. And I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know how long. I don't know how long I'll last because I make people uncomfortable, and I enjoy it. Because if
uncomfortable how?
If they're not,
because you speak the truth.
Well, because that guy that's in basic training and he's running as fast as possible, and everybody tells him to slow down. Keep up or get out of the way. It's that simple. And the same thing can be applied at the Justice Center, at Commissioner's Court, in the school district. And frankly, again, I'm a trial attorney. I like conflict. I like making people uncomfortable, especially if it means that it's going to be better for our community.
Well, that's how you get things done.
Unfortunately, yes.
If you make people uncomfortable a little bit, then they'll be like, okay, well, let's
Shaming people works very well.
When you're not doing this, what kind of interests, hobbies do you have outside of, do you have time for any of that?
Trial attorneys don't have hobbies. I love my kids.
Yeah, family, absolutely.
My favorite part of
I have I have that series, Discover Rose Ridge with Kim. I try to highlight Rose Ridge, Fort Bend County. What do you like about Rosenberg, Richmond, or Fort Bend County too?
Really, man, the memories of the friendships that I still have.
Yeah.
I have a core group of friends that we've been friends since we were 15. Some of us went to UT together. Some of us were in the surrounding area in Austin, but we all maintained that friendship and we're still friends today. So we still get together. So I think those friendships that I formed from Terry and Lamar back in the day, and my family too, which is ever present in Fort Bend County. I don't know if that answered your question, but North Rosenberg, where my family's from, in Buena Vista Street, where my mom's family's from, Solis Tacos in Stafford, across from Dulles. I work with Friends of North Rosenberg and Attack Poverty in North Rosenberg, but that area back there, I do everything I can because they get forgotten a lot, in my opinion. So North Rosenberg, North Richmond, to me, that's home. But right now, I'm 50. Lacey and I are going to be 55. I got to say that too. Lacey and I were born on the same day exactly.
Oh, wow.
June 29th, 1970. I married an older woman. She is 5 minutes older than I am. And if you want to wrap up, that is, we are fire and fire and fire and fire. But come out, help us. You and I work together very well.
Yes, we do.
And we need more people, change agents, to come together and be part of the solution here in Fort Bend County.
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for the interview, of course, but more importantly, I just want to say thank you for what you do, because if we had more people like you, we wouldn't have any of these problems to begin with, because we would all be working together and solving them. So thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to the campaign, and I'm just so happy to know you as a person. I'm so glad that we ran across each other in our professional lives, and we're on your side and here to help any way we can.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.